Brought to you by Penguin.
Border Wars by Klaus Dodds. Read by Leemore Marrett, Jr. Introduction. In June 1987, President Ronald Reagan traveled to the divided city of Berlin. Standing at a podium with the iconic Brandenburg Gate as backdrop, Reagan did not mince his words. On the formal occasion of Berlin's 750th anniversary, the former actor turned two-term president made a remarkable appeal to his Soviet equivalent, General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. The effect of the televised speech was arguably more striking on the other side of the Berlin Wall, with East German and Soviet media claiming that Reagan's demands to tear it down was incendiary. But there was no question in West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl's judgment that Reagan's impassioned appeal anticipated a shift in the public mood. In November 1989, East German border guards failed to prevent surging crowds from opening the Brandenburg Gate, and the iconic Berlin Wall, built in the early 1960s, was broken and battered by crowds armed with hammers and pickaxes. A piece of the wall sits on my desk. In this respect, I am not alone. It was a momentous time. Very few of us who experienced those events in person or even via television and radio could have failed to be moved by the desire to open gates, tear down walls, and destroy the formal border between West Germany and East Germany, the Democratic German Republic, GDR. For 4 decades, ice, iron, and bamboo curtains separated capitalists and communist worlds in the Arctic, Central and Eastern Europe, and East and Southeast Asia. Relatively few people breached those barriers, but those who did escape were household names to many North American and Europeans, such as Czechoslovakian tennis player Martina Navratilova, who defected in 1975 after participating in the U.S. Open at the West Side Tennis Club, Forest Hills, Queens, New York. Navratilova was embraced by her country of choice and became a U.S. citizen in 1981. Her adoption of the U.S. was a propaganda victory for Reagan's America. She had rejected publicly the constraints enacted by the Czechoslovakian regime and its tennis federation. The rest is history and geography, as she traveled around the world winning Grand Slams and accumulating prize money. She is now a well-respected sports commentator and political activist, especially for LGBT rights. Tearing down communist walls and red fences and opening those borders and barriers reflected post-Cold War optimism in the righteousness and robustness of liberal, democratic, and Western countries. The end of history and end of geography was upon us, and the stark division between capitalist and communist worlds would soon disappear. Global mobility and trade would be freed from pernicious geopolitical barriers. Between the late 1980s and early 2000s, the dominant talk was of our free-flowing globalization and the rise of our geoeconomics, the hypermobility of finance, the transnationalism of trade and investment, and the global diffusion of liberal freedoms. A classic Cold War military technology, the Internet began in the 1990s to enable near-instant communication, virtual trading, and data transmission. The obituary from monarchy and geopolitics, in which everything was reduced to a struggle between good and evil, was being written, and it was not uncommon to read that authoritarian governments would be held to account by an online community empowered by shared democratic norms and liberal values around the world. The European Union, EU, embarked on a phase of new member state expansion, and in North America, the US government signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, with Mexico and Canada. In South America, a new trading bloc, Mercosur, Southern Common Market in English, was initiated in the early 1990s and taken to be a sign that previous authoritarian and military regimes were prepared to negotiate over a common...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?